Good morning, parents, and welcome to the weekend edition of The Boiling Point. Today we have our special guest, Brandi, that's going to be sharing with us an interaction that she had with Terri the Pickle Mickle. Remember, you vote for Mickle, you're going to get us in a pickle, so don't vote for her. But anyway, she wants to share and she wants to, um, you know, she was very, shall we say, deliberate yesterday in the meeting or Thursday in the meeting, and she really did not address what her stance is with this policy. She took a whole different avenue, which was smart because, as we know, she's presenting herself as a conservative to people, and we know that she is not. So that being stated, share. Brandy, what's going on?
Yeah, I talked to Christy after she had shared that somebody was going around for Terri and saying that she was conservative, saying that she was all for the LGBTQIA, or was against it, excuse me. So I asked her, I would like to hear your stance on the new policy they are trying to pass, boys and girls sports. She said, "Hi, Brandi. You must be Carolyn's mom. I had the opportunity to interview her for junior achievement, and she spoke very well about her involvement with horses and riding. I'm sure you are very proud of Carolyn, and I'm glad I had a brief chance to meet her. Thanks for reaching out regarding the policy and discussion regarding athletics participation. I believe that all students deserve to feel safe, supported, and included in school, including in extracurricular activities like athletics. At the same time, I understand that issues like this raise complex questions about fairness, competition, and well-being. When it comes to policies regarding students' participation in sports, I believe that decision needs to be grounded in facts, existing law, and the best interests of students. As a professional who spent many years in high school education policy, I know how important it is for policies to be clearly written, legally sound, and carefully implemented. Our district has a responsibility to thoughtfully navigate these elements to balance inclusion with fairness. Rushing into decisions and implementing policies without thorough review can have long-term consequences for students and schools alike. As a school board member, I would approach these issues with empathy, research, and commitment to listening to students, parents, coaches, and legal and medical professionals. These are not decisions that should be driven by politics or fear, but by a responsibility to ensure that every student has a chance to learn, grow, and belong. I know that inclusion is meaningful for students. I enjoyed celebrating Caden's opportunity to play with CCHS football team, and I'd like for all students to feel that supported or that support from the West Shore School District community. Thanks for reaching out. And my response was, because I don't know this lady, period. I've never met her. This is the only interaction I've had with her. I said, my issue is, when does my child's safety, security, and well-being get protected? Caden is a completely different. His medical conditions, heart and lungs, don't allow him to play. It took over 3 months to getting approval from his doctors for him to be allowed to do that one play. What seemed so simple, so many safeguards were in place because one hit literally could have altered his life and ours forever. And I have not heard back from her since. And that was
Interesting
May
that you
5th.
didn't hear back. And that's interesting that you didn't hear back because, we have learned, okay, as parents, early on in this game, that words matter. Okay. And there was something here that you read that she is speaking about inclusion, fairness, and fear. When you guys hear those words, those are buzzwords. So what she's basically telling
Mhm.
you is that inclusion in her world, okay, is the inclusion of the LGBTQ, okay, and the acceptance of the LGBTQ. And then they love to use this term fear. Nobody is fearful of trans children. Nobody is fearful of them, having participation in sports. Okay.
Right.
Fairness is fairness to one side and not the other. Okay. So we have to put all this in perspective. Um, This thing that we are fearful, no, this whole policy was about fairness to every child, in particular the girls, because it's protecting Title IX and it's protecting what it was, originally for. But I do like the question that you posed about your child. Who's guaranteeing your child's, um, safety? Who's guaranteeing your child's inclusion? Who's protecting your child's values and your
Privacy.
and the privacy? Exactly. So who's protecting everything seems with this candidate and the people that endorse her and the parents that are backing her up and the woke mob that's backing her up also. She says that it shouldn't be about politics, and we agree. Yet she's playing politics because even in that reply that she gave you, you can read the politics in there. Okay, and this has never been, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandy, because you've been in this battle for a while. This has never been for the conservative board an issue of politics. It's been an
Mm-mm.
issue of parental rights and making
Right.
sure that all our children are protected and educated. The one that are bringing politics is Terry Mickle, Brian Geiswhite. We all know that Tierney's been doing it for years. Okay, Cam Big,
Right.
and even now Trong, and Trong even took it to, a dimension he should have never taken it to, which was even trying to bribe another board member. So, so she never replied to you. How do you feel about that?
It's kind of disappointing. I mean, when you when you look at Caden, he seems quote unquote normal. Um, Not many know until recently because we had an issue about graduation, which was brought up in last week's meeting. Um, and that, and I wasn't even asking for anything major. I was asking for grace and understanding because they wanted us to cancel a very important doctor's appointment, a cardiology appointment. Um, so I don't feel that including a child that has a physical medical condition that doesn't he's not even allowed to play sports. Like anything that he does, he plays on Camp Pearl Challenger baseball. There's, you swing until you hit. There's no outs. If he can't run the bases, he's literally allowed to walk. We don't keep score. Um, Literally, that's what he's allowed to do.
For fun, and
It's
for social,
it's not
to be
it's
able to
not
socialize.
a matter. It's not a matter of, well, he just doesn't. Yeah, he wants to play, but he just doesn't really want to be that involved. No, Caden would love to be on the field. He would love to be playing every week. Um, he's only allowed to lift like 15 pounds maybe, and he's got to be able to do 3 sets of 10 before he can even lift any more, but he's got to do it so that he's not winded, because any type of, as they put it, like where you have to hold your breath, like exertion, is not good for him.
Okay.
Any
Okay.
hit at all, period, to the chest could be devastating. So it's not just so simple that, oh, well, I'm glad he was included in that. Like nobody realizes what actually went into that.
No,
This
because she was
isn't
talking. I'm sorry. She was talking to you like a politician.
right.
And then my question is, where is her heart as a parent?
It's not even, people always say, well, like they're playing dress up, which in my opinion, that's kind of what it's like. I understand like they have gender dysphoria. It is a mental health condition. Caden's physical, mental, or medical piece doesn't compare to that, I don't feel.
Okay. And you're correct. And you're correct. But the problem is, you're coming to her, um, and you're being honest, because I know you. I know you know how you are. You were being honest here. And she replies to you as a politician
Mm-hmm.
and not really giving you any resolutions or remedies or how she feel that situation can be handled better or how can she better assist you and your family and your child. She was
Right.
more about vote for me, Mickle. Okay.
It
And
was.
again, mhm,
It wasn't even a. I'm sorry, I didn't realize like it was that medical condition, like to the extent that it is. Ask
mhm.
questions. I don't care. I'll tell anybody that wants to learn about Caden's medical conditions. I'd be more than happy to. The boy will be 18 on Monday, and it has taken us a lot and many, many doctors and surgeries to get him where he's at today.
Right,
So it's
and I
not,
definitely understand because with children, I myself have children with medical conditions, so I totally understand, um, the decisions that as parents we have to make, and us having to be the voice for our children. I totally understand. I totally understand what you're saying. And in her not giving you a reply, that kind of even bothers me because I would have thought that because she is a parent, she would have been able to relate, okay, and at least say, "I'm here for you," what's happening, and that's the difference about from her and other people that are running. At least I think.
yeah, I mean, when I wrote about issue with graduation, and, you know, if anybody really truly wants to know, like he has a cardiologist appointment on the same day as the mandatory graduation practice. And when I had reached out to Mr. Gensler, his solution, because we might be cutting it close, was to reschedule his appointment.
And that
And
itself was incorrect. That was bad. That was a bad reply.
that it really took me as shock because I couldn't believe, like, if it was a dentist appointment, I feel like that would be one thing. Um, but him of all people knowing Caden's medical, he's known Caden since middle school. He's, you know, been through at least one of his heart surgeries with him. It's not a small appointment.
No,
And
it's not. And there should have been some sort of concession made.
well, there is now. He has
Okay.
officially been excused by Dr. Philgrove. Um, but even though he's been excused, we are doing everything we can to make sure that he is there because it is important for him to be there and be a part of it. Um, but I was kind of disappointed too, like in the current board, like none of them, other Adam Trum reached out and said he was happy that Philgrove took care of it. Um,
Okay.
but that was it.
So did you address the board in general
Yeah, I did. I sent one to every single board member. I sent it to
and nobody
Philgrove,
replied?
the board, and Stoltz.
Okay. Okay. And nobody replied.
I would say they didn't because Phil Grove replied and said he was sorry. He's excused. Don't worry about it. He's excused. Um, it was just, it was just kind of shocking that nobody was like, "Wow, we didn't realize like we had a student to that this medical extent." You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because it's not. I mean, to look at him, you never know.
Well, there's always the opportunity since Phil Grow replied. The reason I say that because there are times that I have addressed the Cedar Cliff administration and just get pushed back. They don't want to be realistic about certain issues. And it's not until after I involve the board that they behind the scenes call them, okay, or get on the administration to find a resolution to that. So there's always the
Well,
possibility
I
that there
can
was
tell you that
discussion
I
at the
don't believe that
time.
there was a phone call because I didn't send the
Mhm.
email because it took me a lot because I was really hot over the issue.
Yeah,
So
I remember.
I didn't send the email until after midnight, and I had an email from Philgrove before 7 a.m.
Okay. Okay.
So I
Well,
don't I don't think there was conversation in there.
I get you. And probably not. But this is why, guys, I'm always, people will say that I'm aggressive. People will say, whatever they want to say, but it still comes down to this. Our children are our responsibility. The care of our children was given to God, to us. Okay. Our children are gifts, and nobody's going to care more for our kids than us. This is why we have to be the voice of our children, and we have to fight not only for their rights, okay, and for their education. But even in this situation, if she would have been one of these parents that did not have a backbone, she would have probably complied, canceled the appointment, okay, and done what the administration wants. And no, that was not an acceptable reply in any which way or form. Okay. So at the end of the day, while they're all fighting because they want these seats, and they're all fighting because they want, like Terri Mickle, her agenda, okay, to be pushed, we have to fight to make sure that our kids are protected. Now, I do know that when I have reached out, to the board, and I always copy, the taco eating dragon also in it, but when I do reach out to the board, I have had success with it. Um, because I keep pushing and pushing and pushing when it comes to my kids. And it's a shame that we have to go that far, to really stand off with administration in order to get results as a parent. So, kudos to Brandi for doing what was right, okay, for her child, to make sure that her child is protected. And, it's a shame that this lady here that we see in the picture, Terri Mickle, after reaching out, and what I see a lot of, politician there. That's what I see.
Well, yeah, she
After
used
reaching
both
out,
my kids.
yeah, didn't even, show empathy nor concern for the situation of Brandy's child, and the situation of a student of the West Shore School District, okay, that also has conditions. Because more often than not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandy, but more often than not, I feel as special ed children are overlooked.
Yeah.
Okay, they're overlooked. And it's a shame because even among our special ed children, we have children with incredible talents amongst them. Okay, into incredible talents. Just because they have a disability does not mean that they're not talented. And just because they have a disability doesn't mean that, they're invisible. They're not. And that, I
Right.
guess, is what I'm seeing here with what you showed me. I mean, to not reply after you sent, that last reply, is as though he became invisible. Okay,
Yeah.
and no, our special ed children, we need to bring more attention into what's happening in the special ed departments in the West Shore School District. I have had various conversations with Christy, and I think her daughter volunteered, I think, for the special ed department at one time to
Yeah.
help, of how some of these, special ed
Yeah, she
kids are. Yeah, they're bullied. You know what I'm saying? They're bullied.
yeah.
Nothing has been done to protect these kids that are being bullied. They were bullied at the lunch line, at to the point that they were bringing the lunches to their classrooms. And why should the special ed kids have to be restricted to eat their lunch in the classroom and not live life like the other children because they're being bullied? Nobody
Right.
can offer protection. So, we have a group of kids that are often ignored, and we need to bring attention to this situation. And, just with this reply that Terri, gave Brandi, also shows me that she's not the correct candidate, because she should have followed up, and has shown some concern. How can I help you should have been the reply. Do you guys need something? Is there something that I can help you with outside of vote
Right.
for me because I'm a pickle? you know um so yeah, these are things, guys, that as we go, into the primary, and we go into the general election, we have to keep in mind and really notice who really has the best interest of our kids in mind. It's not us or just a vote for me issue. Where's your humanity? Okay.
Right.
Even when I was running, I had people, and Christy can tell you, and Adrian Krishna can tell you, that I had people coming to me with situations that broke my heart, and I'm like, okay, even if I don't get in, we're gonna find a solution to this, even have to rattle the cages. And
Yeah.
many times we were able to find a solution, for the situation. So, this is somebody who gave a very touching, so-called 4-minute speech about the homeless kids. And I'm not saying that the homeless kids, don't need attention. Yeah, because that's another group of kids that are often ignored. Okay. We have
Right.
a great program. I get that. Okay. But sometimes they're also ignored. So I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but she gave, this beautiful speech about the homeless kids. And I do agree that the homeless kids, need their services. Okay. But then was unable to reach out to a parent and put, her concerns at ease, or say, well, you know what? Let me know how I can help you. And, I'll do whatever I need to do to help you. And, outside the politics. And then, if I do get into office, this is what I'm looking to do to remedy this situation. So, guys, we need to pay attention to the special ed department. Some of these special ed teachers work really, really hard. Okay. And the starting salary, if I'm correct, somebody told me that the starting salary, it's really sad. An IT person makes more money than a special ed teacher. And these special ed teachers, they deserve their money. They deserve their wages because they have to do, IEPs and work with the kids and work with the families, and do all these different things. And it's like they're underappreciated and underpaid. And, the kids
Yeah.
are like invisible. What's your opinion about the situation with the special
Yeah,
ed
we actually
kids?
just recently had an issue within the classroom between students, and um, it's really hard because when when Caden came home that day, I mean, he was hot, like he was really upset, and I'm glad that his bus driver stood up for him. And she was like, "No, this is what I saw. This was what was going on." We actually had a student tell Caden that she wished he was hit by a car and that his parents wouldn't care. And when he responded that yes, they would, her response was, "Not until they're dead." Now, I understand that within that classroom, there is a huge dynamic. And just like regular education, when the teacher is not there and there is a substitute, shenanigans happen.
Correct.
But that doesn't excuse what was said.
Correct.
So they did actually go down and have like a mediation session. But I can tell you, when that teacher is not there, it continues.
Okay. So
So it's and I'll be the first to tell you, Caden is not innocent in a lot of things. He is very much, he knows what he needs to do, when he needs to do it, and how to handle a situation until it happens, and then all bets are off.
okay.
But I was
Okay.
proud of him in this situation because he actually kept his mouth shut.
And I'm glad that the bus driver stood up for him because you see, again, this goes back to what I have been screaming about almost all year about the bullying situation in the West Shore School District and about the superintendent going, why is there bullying? Because Mariana Reed says so? No, because there's bullying and you're too lazy to put the tackle down, get your behind up, and go investigate what's happening. Okay?
I
This should
mean,
not be occurring in our kids. And
even with
yeah,
our
kids are kids.
situation,
Yeah, exactly. They bullied.
go ahead.
Kids are kids. But where are the adults?
Right. Even like with our situation, and I just keep thinking back to them all the time saying, I don't understand why parents are pulling their kids out. It is astonishing that they don't realize.
No, because they're doing, the three monkeys,
Yeah, see no,
see
hear
no
no,
evil,
speak
hear no
no.
evil. Okay. So they're too busy doing this and this because they don't want to hear.
Right.
Okay. And it's because either they don't want to handle the situation or they do not know how to handle the situation because unfortunately the West Shore School District has always had a good reputation. And the way I see things sometimes, they're much more worried about their image, okay, than doing what is right by our students.
Right. And their image right now is not great.
No,
You
the
know,
administration said, yes.
my sister said that one of her old colleagues was looking to move into the district, and he was like, after he did his research, he was like, absolutely not. That district is awful right now.
It is, and that's the worrisome part of it. That with what we have going on in the schools, and we have an administration that denies and denies and denies, and it's not looking for remedy. And then we have the other part, the financial part of it, that they're breaking people's backs with these taxes. And exodus is going to eventually start happening here in Cumberland County because nobody is willing to continue to deal with this mess. And this mess have been in place for a couple of years, even before this board came in. And unfortunately, I feel
Right.
bad for the new board members because they inherited this mess from the previous administration. The previous administration
Yeah.
can say they deny, 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 but the proof is in the pudding. Now they're dealing with this mess and they're being blamed for this mess when the blame should lay, okay, on the feet of Brian Geiswhite. because he was very ineffective. On the feet of Abigail Trini because she's all about agendas. On the feet of Cambic for falling asleep in the meeting because I don't know what that dude does. On the feet of, Sherry Moyer, of Judith Krasinski, of
Yeah.
Caprano, okay, of Stoutenberg because that's another ineffective bird. And he was another one stirring the pot um, for this sunshine lawsuit that they have, the sunshine violation lawsuit. He was another one sending emails and stirring the pot for them to move forward. Okay, so the former school board members that are no longer there and the veteran school board members, this whole time, instead of looking for resolutions as to the problems that there is in administration, have been so focused, I mean, like tiger focused on how can we destroy the new school board members, that these things in the schools have escalated and nothing's being
Yeah.
corrected. And that administration needs to be reined in and cleaned out.
Yeah.
Okay, because and we're having another parent soon on the podcast, and I'll let you know. I'll invite you if you want to come. I think it will be very
Sure.
productive. If you co-host with me that day, we are having another parent very soon that's going to say
Sure.
why she pulled her children out of the West Shore School District and have them in cyber school. Because one thing that the administration doesn't want the board members to do, I think it was Brenda Cox who suggested
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Okay, the survey, right? So they don't want that at any cost. They don't want that because the truth is going to come out. But okay,
Right.
fine. But here in the boiling point, we're going to start having these parents on the air with us on the podcast, telling the people, telling the community why they pulled their children out of the West Shore School District schools and are either homeschooling them, cyberschooling them, or have them in private academy. And if you are a parent and you're hearing my voice who pulled your child out of the West Shore School District and you're cyberschooling the child, homeschooling, or have him in private school, reach out to me. Reach out to me because, and you want to speak and you want your voice to be heard because, they treated you unjustly. They did not offer remedy for your child. They treated your child unjustly. Contact me. It's not very hard to contact me. Okay. Contact me. Okay. Or you can email me at voicefortheparents@gmail.com and let me know that you want your voice to be heard on the boiling point and you want to give us your story. Okay. And you want to let the school board administration and the school board members know what truly happened through this podcast because that's the only way apparently they're going to listen to anything. Give me a call. Give Jonathan Edmonds a call. If you know Brandi, reach out because Brandi knows how to get us. If you know Christy, almost everybody knows Christy. She should run for mayor. Reach out to us. If you know Celeste Jack, reach out to us. And we will be more than happy to help you and allow you, as Brandi is doing right now, come on the boiling point and give us your story as to why. Give us the facts as to why you pulled your child out of the West Shore School District. Because it needs to be put out there. Brandi, is there anything else that you want to share with us?
No, I think that's it for today.
Okay, so and what I have to say, it's a shame that this young lady here that is running for office show so little empathy. Okay, she was more into her, well, this is my political stance, and we need to be all inclusive because that word inclusive, it means
Right.
woke agenda. Okay, and we have to, handle this fear. There is no fear. None of the children are transphobic. None of the parents are transphobic. Nobody is scared of anything. We understand it more than you. Okay. We understand that you are about, bringing politics into the school. We understand that you're running on a bipartisan ticket and you're not. We understand that you're telling people that you are conservative and you're not. We understand that you're telling people that you're against the LGBTQ, but on Thursday I saw you sitting with them and rallying along with them. And I also saw, I don't know if you saw it on, because you were streaming it live with Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
But when Adam Trone gave his vote for the policy, she got all out of sorts. She had to stand up and walk away. So she walked away for a minute, okay, because she was upset about, him citing and saying, yes, let's pass this policy. And then when she collected herself, then she came back and she sat down. Okay. So we see all this, guys. We see all this. So we understand that you were against the policy and are against the policy. And we also understand that, you're being supported and endorsed by West Shore Student First, who is a progressive organization. It's a progressive pushing woke agendas. It's a company also trying to bring in all these pornographic novels into school. And we understand that you're being, endorsed by them, or at least your signs say that you are, and you're speaking on the little town halls. And we understand that you are also being backed up by West Shore Unify, which most of those members on West Shore Unify are people involved in this sunshine violation lawsuit. Okay, a good portion of them or supporters of that lawsuit. Okay, or that lawfare, because it's not even a lawsuit; it's a lawfare. But yet you want to sit there and tell us, okay, that you are a conservative, that you are for all children when you're not. You cross-filed. Okay, you're not a Republican; you are a Democrat. All right. So that being stated, we will no longer be gaslighting by you or candidates like you. And the same thing with Brian Geiswhite. He's trying to save face, trying to show that he's a conservative when he's not. All his actions for the last 15 years have shown us that he is not a conservative, that he is not for the parents. His wife, as I showed you guys a couple of days back, I don't know if you saw it, Brandy. He was always saying that I was making
Mhm.
up that she was, the president of an LGBTQ club, until did I not prove it online that she was.
Yes.
Okay, she was, and probably still is. And then the pornographic books coming into the school when she was also the chief librarian and he was the school board president, which I think at that time there was a conflict of interest there. But that's just me. Okay, so yeah, he's not a conservative. He's also being backed up by West Shore Unify, by West Shore Student First. Okay, she's part of I think it's called the Education Plus, that she's all proud. If you look at what Education Plus, okay, is backing up all woke agendas. Okay, look it up, guys. Don't just take it from me. I can do the clips and bring it in one night and prove to you what they're all about. But look it up, do your research, okay? And these are the people, the left wing hacks, that are, supporting her and supporting Guys White. Look at Guys White's, campaign signs. It says supported by West Shore, or endorsed by West Shore Students First. You know, yeah, yeah. So he says that he's a Republican, but and a conservative, but he's taking funding and endorsements from the Democrat.
Right.
Okay. And so guys, it's very essential that we get the correct people in, and people that are going to care for our students, that are going to care for our parents, that are going to not only find resolution and remedy to the situation, but have the heart to say, how can I help you? If you know that a student is going hungry, okay, and you know where that student live, why not get a basket, put some goodies in there, knock on the door. Hi, this is Mariana Reid. Yeah, I'm a school board member, or I'm not a school board member, or I'm whoever you are. I would like to, bless you with this basket. Don't just talk about it. It's like
Right.
the Bible. The Bible says, right? And Jesus said, when somebody tells you that they have a need, don't just say, oh, I'll pray about it. If you have the ability to help
Yep.
them with that and provide for that need. That's like if somebody comes and tell me, "Oh, Mariana, I'm hungry. I don't have milk for my kids. I'm going through it." Oh, I'll pray for you. Prayer is not going to fill the belly. You're going
Right.
to show the love of God through your action. Okay? Yeah, pray for them, definitely. But you're going to show the love of God through your action. Go get a gift card at Giant. Give it to them. Even if you don't have a lot, even if all you can give them is 50, $100, whatever. Okay? $25, whatever. Okay, but at least that 50, 25, 50, $100, whatever it may be, that you can give them $10, whatever. It's going to be able to put milk on that table. Maybe a
Right.
dozen eggs, maybe some spaghetti, so something that they can feed their child with. And this is what people like Terri Mickle, when they do stuff like this. Oh, I hear you. Oh, okay, vote for me. Vote for me. Yeah, okay. Oh, can't help you. Show some empathy. Because I think that and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandy, if she would have shown some empathy, you have probably seen her with different eyes.
Yeah. And I'm sure my daughter says she doesn't remember her asking her stuff during junior achievement. Um, so I'm sure she knows me from the other lawsuit, um, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't
Okay.
bother me.
And it
Um,
is fine, and you had your right to sue because they weren't
right.
listening to what you were saying.
Um, and that doesn't bother me. But even if she would have asked like any question at all, you know, I think, or even would have responded at all with anything, I think it might have looked a little bit different. But she kind of just gave, well, I said my piece, and that's just how it is. You know, if we say our piece because that's what we feel or we have the facts or whatever, we're always seem to be wrong.
Oh, of course, we're villainized. We're villainized because we don't share their values or their, and we don't share their lack of moralities. We actually have morals. We have a heart, we have empathy. Okay, we're looking for resolution, and we love all kids. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. They can say whatever they want to say about me. The reality is, I love all children,
You
transgender
know,
or not. A
I
child's a child to
when
me.
all of this started with the whole character strong stuff, I had to have a discussion with both kids. A lot of it they didn't understand because it's not something that we believe in. It's not something we've actually had to have, sit down conversations about until that point. But our stance was it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what they do, whether you agree with it or not. That doesn't give you or anybody a right to be mean to them.
Correct. Correct. And I like that you say that because one of the arguments that they had, like Stolzenberg, I wanted to go into the computer and just smack him. One day, you know how Facebook sometimes shows you the pictures of different people, right? So
Yeah.
his Facebook page came up, and what I saw him doing a stupid face, like, and he puts the face that I put when a Christian parent tells me that they don't believe in empathy, something to that effect. And it was a jab at you and the parents who sued.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not about empathy, okay? Because the thing is this is people forget. It is our right as parents to teach our children how to be good citizens, to
Right.
teach our children how to have empathy. It is not the right of these left wing hacks. It is not the right of the government. It is not the right of the teachers. It is not the right of any school board member or candidate. And that is in our PA Constitution. It
Right.
is the right of the parents. So, it's not about that we don't have empathy. We have a lot of empathy. Okay. Is that it's not your place to bring in a curriculum like social emotional learning to try to teach your child how to be kind. That's my job as a parent, to
Well,
sit my
apparently my
child and make them good citizens.
well, apparently according to her, my child is kind, and she doesn't need character strong. So,
Well, I'm
you
sure that
know,
your child is kind because the parents are kind. Okay. And the sad thing is that these people like Mickle here that support social emotional learning are the sometimes the most unkind people. We see that in the board meeting all the
mm-hmm.
time. Okay, spreading lies, bashing people, slandering people, the way they speak to people, the way they treat people. And if you don't agree with them, then you're hateful. No, we don't agree with
Yeah,
you because it's our right not to agree with you. It's my right to agree to disagree with you. And it's your right to have whatever your opinion you may have, and I will fight for your right to say it. But the same way like I will fight for your right to say it, I expect the same respect back. Okay?
right,
I might not agree with you, okay? Doesn't mean that I hate you. And this is
right,
something that this society, especially these people in the West Shore, have forgotten that just because we disagree doesn't mean we hate.
right,
Brandy and I can disagree in a couple of things. It doesn't mean she hates me. It doesn't mean I hate her. We can disagree on some things. Okay, doesn't mean that there's
yeah.
hate. I disagree sometimes with Christy. I disagree sometimes with Jonathan. I could disagree with Celeste, but we don't hate each other. We just disagree. We have opposing
Agree to
opinions.
disagree, and you have to accept it and move on.
Correct.
But
Correct.
instead of them moving on, it's a continue to bash, 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 and they literally do it. I feel to like wear you down to hopefully change your mind. Um, because I kind of had that same stance when it was like they wanted us to pick apart the entire curriculum. No, no, I don't
Mhm.
want her doing any of it. Like none. Why do I have to
And
pick apart a curriculum? It's not like it's a math, a science, a social studies reading. You know what I mean? It wasn't an essential curriculum. Like I can tell you now, she's not going to be able to dissect anything because it's an animal, and that's just she's not going to be able to do it. Physically, she would probably throw up everywhere and cry, and
Right.
that's not fair to her. But when they wanted us to pick it apart, and I'm thinking, why? And they were trying to make it harder and harder and harder and harder, when others would write pretty much the same thing I did, and they're like, yep, fine, not a big deal. But because those of us who are more outspoken, we were the ones that were getting the pushback. And I
Exactly,
actually
because
tried,
we're the one in the meetings. Hmm.
and I actually tried to get it so that, like, why do we have to opt out every year?
Correct. It should be opt in and not opt out. And
Well,
you
I
said
agree
something
with
very
that
key.
too, but
Hmm.
we took it as far as a lawsuit. Why do we have to opt out every year? We're
Exactly. And
not
I said
changing our
that.
minds on it.
I said that this year when I found out, when they told me that your child was still being exposed to social emotional learning. I had a hot fit because the way I see it, you guys just won a lawsuit. Okay. And I don't think it's that difficult to flag their record. That's a way of
Right.
flagging the record to understand that this child is opt out. Okay. Basically because of the lawsuit, you guys won. It's not like Trinity said, "No, we settled." No, you lost, and you settled because you knew you were losing, and you waited to settle
Right.
after the election because you wanted your candidates to get in. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the truth of the matter. Okay, but I was hot, I was livid because they should not be exposed to that again. And then when they removed her from the class, I was like, are you kidding me? So what is she doing during that time? That's when I had my conversation with you that you filled me in. I was like, well, what the flying flip? So, and you said something very crucial. You said that they wear you down. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and they try to wear you down so that you
Yeah.
can give up and say it's not worth the fight. But you know what? When it comes to parents like Brandy, me, Christy, and some other ones that we know, when it comes to our children, we will fight with everything we got. Because to us, it's worth the fight because you're messing
Yep.
around with our kid.
Yep.
And you mess around with our kid, okay? We become the mama bears that we are, and we call the other mama bears out. And this is the problem that the West Shore School District is having, that the parents have had it because
Yeah.
they've been dealing with this 15 plus years.
I just saw
15 plus years. And we're
ABC
fighting back.
27 covered, the turf field at Redland. And if you read through those comments, there are a lot of people within West Shore that are livid over this. I'm not saying they don't deserve the practice field or whatever, because I remember in the very beginning of all this, it was no, the stadium is still there for both. It's not, that's not changing. We're adding a turf field for them to practice on. Um, and there's people in the comments that are like, no, Redland has the nanatorium, they have the stadium, we share. As a district, we share it.
And that's true. I understand that. But I do believe that Redland for years, I mean, even before the time of my husband, they have been always being transported to Cedar Cliff. Okay. And in all kinds of weather. And I understand that they have their own sports team. And I'm of the belief, me personally, that they deserve their field, their own practice field. Because I don't
Right.
know, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if we knew each other back then, but a year or two ago, I received from a parent a video of a Redland child that was playing in Cedar Cliff. And you know how they have to, shower and all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
the Cedar Cliff students were taunting him and throwing blocks of soap at him, and the kids is yelling, "Stop! Stop! Stop!" And he's trying to hide himself from the curtain because they're
That
always trying to
happened. I
expose.
I sent that to you because
Ah, okay,
I
so yes.
got that information, I believe, off of TikTok, and I'm pretty sure that happened when they were away for um, their week-long camp at Millersville.
Okay, and the thing is this also. They deserve to have their own field, something that belongs to them.
Mm-hmm.
and the teams can go back and forth. So this thing about the Red Land Project, and a lot of people are against it because a lot of people have given a false narrative about it in order to hurt the board. Okay. A lot of this money, or most of the money, was, I guess, from a grant, and they needed to
Mm-hmm.
use that grant that they got. They needed to use, and this was stated in various school board meetings earlier,
Right.
that this grant was needed to be used on a sports field. So this is the perfect opportunity to give Redland the field that they need and that they deserve. That they deserve.
Right.
Now I know for a fact that Abigail Turney is one of these people, and she'll say, "Nah, nah, no," but we all know it. She's one of these people that she wants everything for Cedar Cliff. Okay, she's more inclined to Cedar Cliff, and that's fine. She has a preference. But why are you going to, withhold something from another group of kids because
Right.
you are in favor of one school or prefer one school or one team over the other? That's ridiculous. Fair is
So my
fair.
question still is it a practice field or is it a whole stadium like is up like the West Shore Stadium?
To my understanding, and if I am wrong and the board
Because
members
then it
hearing
poses
me,
another question. Because what happens to our band then? Because our band doesn't travel.
okay, to
The
my
band is
understanding,
both
it's
Redland
going
and Cedar Cliff.
right. To my understanding, it's going to be a field. They're gonna have standard bleachers.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing fancy schmancy, like standard bleachers. And I think they're trying to get like a scoreboard or something, or somebody's gonna donate one of those scoreboards. I don't think it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
cost, the people anything, okay, for that. That's to my understanding. I can be wrong. I don't think that I am, but I think I can be wrong in one or two details. But I know
This
they're
this
gonna
is
have
this
standard
is where I
bleachers,
think
nothing.
lacking communication
Yes,
because they're calling
yes,
it a stadium, and to me, a
and
stadium is like what we have up
it
here.
it probably is gonna be a stadium. I think a smaller one, not into the magnitude that they have, let's say in Cedar Cliff. Um, and that is probably why the reason. And they're gonna have the bleachers, and it's gonna have the things that a stadium does. Probably gonna be a smaller one, but it's not costing the taxpayer all this money that they're making it seem that it's gonna cost. It's not. Okay, because a lot of it is grant money. Okay, so
Okay.
now the particulars, okay, the certain particulars that I'm unclear. I'll definitely ask and get the question, and that's a good question to ask, the board. We can send them emails to get the specifics. But yes, it is a stadium, but to my understanding, it's not going to be as big, you know what I'm saying, as what Cedar Cliff has, nor as
Mm-hmm.
grandiose. Okay, it's just going to be a regular field. You know what I'm saying? Regular stadium, a regular field, smaller in size, I believe, and just standard bleachers, nothing very grandiose, but to give them something
Well,
of
right.
their own, and I think they deserve it. And again, what people fail to see and what they fail to communicate is that the bulk of it is out of monies that they had in the grant that had to be used for a something related to sport, like a field or a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're doing. That's what they're using the money for. And then there was a big fight about that because Journey was one that did not want those funds to be used for that. Okay. And anytime they speak about the stadium, you see her, well, you can't use this, or you can't use that, or you can't, because she does not want them to have it.
Right.
And that's okay. That's unfair. Anything else we want to cover?
No, I think that's it.
All right, guys. So again, parents, my offer is there. If you want to speak as to why your child left the West Shore School District, contact the Boiling Point podcast. We will be happy to have you, on the podcast, and you tell your story, your own words, okay? With you have your facts, okay? And you just let the people know this is why I pulled my child. So if you want to share your story, give us a call. So this is Mariana, and this is Brandi. We're signing off from the Boiling Point. God bless and have a happy Mother's Day.
You too.
Adios. Bye.